I never imagined that locking up a playboy in the office would lead to a life-changing revelation. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The moment my tidy world transformed into a chaotic whirlwind. It started as an ordinary Tuesday. The kind where the sun shines too brightly, making you squint during your early morning coffee run. I can still taste the bitterness of that coffee, mixed with a hint of fear that fluttered in my chest that I was drowning in deadlines. My team was depending on me. So, when I found Carter, our office's notorious playboy, the charming devil with piercing blue eyes and a smile that seemed to burn, casually flirting with Bianca in the corner, a wave of irritation swept over me. They were laughing, their voices like a siren call to distraction. My heart raced. I couldn't let this happen. We were on the edge of launching the campaign of our lives. I made the snap decision without thinking. Carter. Get in my office. My voice cut through the air, sharp and demanding. He smirked, eyes dancing with mischief, as he sauntered towards me, each step echoing like a countdown. Once inside, the door slammed shut with a resonant thud. My palms were sweaty against the cool doorknob. I felt the silence wrap around us like a heavy blanket. I locked the door. The click of the latch felt like a cage closing around us. What? Afraid I'll distract you? He teased, leaning against my desk, arms crossed, confident as a cat who just caught a mouse. I glared, but deep down, something stirred. His energy was intoxicating, and I hated myself for it. I paced the room, the air thickening with tension. Before I knew it, words tumbled out of my mouth. The things I wanted to say clashed with the need to stay professional. You think this is a game, don't you? We have a briefing in an hour, and you're just here flirting instead of working. My heart pounded. I was angry, yet there was an undeniable pull between us. He shrugged, the playful grin fading slightly. Chill, Chloe. Your wound too tight. Lighten up. The challenge in his tone sent chills down my spine. My breathing picked up. I could feel the weight of his gaze. There was something beneath the surface, the way his eyes flickered with genuine emotion, sadness hiding beneath the mask of the charming robe. Just as I opened my mouth to retort, a loud bang resonated from outside. Lights flickered. The entire building seemed to tremble. What was that? I stepped back instinctively, fear creeping in. Carter looked serious for the first time. I don't know, he muttered, pushing back the curls from his forehead. Before we could process the noise, an eerie silence blanketed the space, thick as fog. My heart raced, each beat louder than the last. Were we in danger? Was there an accident? I turned to him, ready to ask a million questions. But Carter had a puzzled look on his face, as if a revelation was forming right before my eyes. I need to tell you something, he began, but before he could finish, the lights went out. Darkness enveloped us. My heart dropped as a cold fear took hold. Carter. I whispered, desperation clogging my throat. Chloe, wait, his voice was suddenly very close, almost in a hurried panic. Just then, the emergency lights flickered on, casting an eerie glow, revealing a mysterious box on my desk. It was old and dusty, with a label that read "Open me" in elegant script. Confusion gripped me. Was this some sort of sick joke? Chloe, you need to listen. Carter's voice cracked through the thick air. But what did he mean? What was in that box? My heart raced, caught between fear and intrigue. I was paralyzed by the weight of the moment. And just when I reached for the box, ready to unveil its secret, a loud crash echoed outside, shattering the silence and jolting us both. Had we stumbled onto something far bigger than ourselves? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. My fingers brushed against the surface of the mysterious box, and I felt the weight of 100 questions merge into one. What on earth could be inside? The air grew thick again, the pervasive silence nudging my instincts, but my curiosity warred with the growing fear. Chloe, don't. Carter's urgent whisper jolted me from my thoughts. The sound of chaos outside grew louder, like a storm building, except this was different, darker, so much darker. Why not? What do you know? I snapped back, my frustration boiling over as I turned to face him. His expression was torn, there was urgency mixed with a flicker of vulnerability. Because this is a bad idea. I hesitated, the box seeming to pulse with energy, and for a fleeting moment, I considered whether I should listen to my instincts or to Carter, a man who had constantly drawn lines in the sand. The pounding outside, the confusion, the power outage, they pressed down like chains on my chest. The moment stretched into a tangible knot of tension between us, aching and alive. I felt like a ship caught in a storm, battling against the relentless waves of uncertainty. What if this box held something that changed everything? What if it was a mistake to open it? With the outside din escalating, I steeled myself. We can't just ignore it. We're trapped in here, Carter. What if it's important? I sensed his turmoil, uncertainty shadowing his features. He took a step closer, a habit as natural to him as breathing. Some things are better left buried, Chloe, he whispered, his voice low and almost pleading. Trust me on this. But the conviction in his tone did little to assuage the rush of adrenaline coursing through my veins. Suddenly, a loud crash jolted us both, shaking the walls of the office like a quake. Almost instinctively, I grabbed the box, fingers trembling, and with a swift motion, I lifted the lid. The hinges creaked as I pried it open, revealing an assortment of objects that glimmered with an unearthly light. Inside was an old letter, yellowed and marked by age, alongside a delicate silver pendant that glimmered softly. My heart raced as I recognized the insignia etched onto the pendant. It was identical to one I'd seen in my grandmother's jewelry box, the one she claimed had been passed down through generations, a token of protection, she said, that granted strength during times of despair. What the? Carter breathed, shock and intrigue mingling in his voice as he leaned closer. I felt the heat radiate from his body, every inch of me hyper-aware. What is all of this? I carefully unfolded the letter, the thin paper crinkling under my fingers, its scrawl elegant but faded. To whomever finds this, it began. The trinkets contained herein belong to a legacy unknown, and a fate intertwined with your own. Time is short, and secrets will consume you. Just then, the lights flickered again, and the emergency lights cast a ghostly glow over Carter's face, illuminating the confusion that danced in his eyes. He looked at me as though searching for answers, and for a moment, I believed we stood at the edge of something monumental, but then, the unmistakable sound of running footsteps echoed outside, a frantic rush that sent a shiver down my spine. Maybe we need to split up, I suggested, incredulous at my own words. You figure out what's happening out there, and I'll know. He interrupted, firing his gaze back to mine with unyielding intensity. We can't be apart while, whatever this is happening. You don't know what's out there. The world felt suddenly fragile, each passing second stretching impossibly long. The noise grew even louder, violent chaos creeping closer, but my gaze remained locked on Carter, whose breath was now mingling with mine, a charged atmosphere cocooning us, and just as I was about to make my choice, the solid metal handle of the office door twisted violently. A chilling laugh echoed from the hallway, cutting through the tension, a voice we both recognized all too well. Thought you could hide from me, did you? I froze as the door swung open, revealing Max, our rival from another firm and the very last person I expected to see. Funny, you'd think I'd find you two together, he sneered, eyes sparkling with malice. Time hung in a thick cloud of imminent dread, my heart pounding as all the dark possibilities unfurled before me. Whatever was meant to be hidden, whatever secrets that box held, I realized we were no longer merely pawns in our own lives but on the brink of a game far more dangerous than we ever could have imagined. The door slammed open with a force that sent a ripple of unease through the cramped office space. Max stood there like a specter from a nightmare, the harsh fluorescent light catching the predatory glint in his eyes. The moment stretched painfully, and the chaos outside morphed into a distant echo as though the world had suddenly paused. "Well, well," Max purred, a cruel smile playing on his lips. "What a cozy little gathering you have here." His gaze flitted between me and Carter before landing back on the open box, curiosity mingling with malice. "What's this, then? A family heirloom? Or perhaps something far more intriguing?" I felt the color drain from my face. It was one thing to be confronted by our rival, but to have him standing there in the midst of our unraveling reality felt like the universe squeezing the air from my lungs. "What do you want, Max?" I managed to say, my voice shaky yet defiant. "Oh, just checking in on you two lovebirds. You know, it's funny how fate drags us together, isn't it?" He strode into the room with a swagger, as if he were on a stage instead of in an office where everything felt perilously real. Instinctively, I stepped back, drawing closer to Carter, who remained tense beside me, muscles coiled as if ready to spring. "Max, this isn't the time for games," Carter intervened, his voice low and fierce, the kind of tone that used to send shivers through the halls of our company but now did little to faze Max's games. "Oh, my dear Carter, this isn't a game. This is a dance for survival, and you two are at its center." Max let the words hang heavily, sarcasm dripping from each syllable. "I know you've stumbled upon something precious. Something that'll make you either very powerful or very vulnerable. And I must admit, I love a good gamble." My pulse raced as the shock settled into something resembling unease. He had always been unpredictable, but there was a dangerous edge to Max that made my skin crawl, a magnetism that turned unsettling in an instant. "What do you know about it?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "More than you," he replied, taking an exaggerated step toward us. "You think I'd just let you lay your hands on something that could upend everything? The truth is, Chloe, I've been watching. Always have been." His gaze slid toward the letter in my hand. "And I assure you, whatever's written there could either be the dawn of a new era or your darkest hour." Carter's grip tightened on my shoulder, his presence grounding me against the rising tide of fear. "Get to the point, Max," he snapped, frustration laden in his tone. "What do you want?" "I want to save you," he smirked. "From yourselves. It's cute, really, this idea that you think you can decipher secrets that are meant to remain hidden." The situation spun into disarray as if my world were collapsing, the heavy weight of choices entwining with the flicker of hope that ignited within me. "What do you mean?" I asked, breathless. "What's hidden?" "Oh, I could tell you, but where would the fun be in that?" Max chuckled, the delight he took in our discomfort only amplifying the tension. "You see, if you truly wish to unveil the truth, you'll have to play my game. Right here, right now." Without thinking, I moved forward, compelled by a mix of anger and desperation. "You think I'll just play your games? You think any of this is a joke?" Max stepped back, his smile clipping, momentarily surprised by my audacity. "I do think you're naive, though. If you don't, you leave me no choice but to strip away any protection you think you have." At that moment, the ground beneath me felt unstable, the threat in his eyes unmistakable. I cast a fleeting look at Carter, whose expression mirrored my tumultuous thoughts, a silent question lingering between us, a fragile connection brimming with unspoken fears. "I want to be put under your thumb, Max," Carter said, facing him down. "You can't intimidate us into submission." Max's laughter echoed, but beneath it was a darkness I felt in my bones. "Very well. Stand your ground. But remember, secrets come at a price." He shifted, almost fluidly, as if he were part of the shadows that danced along the walls. "What I want is simple, you either hand over the box, or I'll ensure you regret it. Every heart-stopping second in that tense standoff layered with the weight of the world. I seized my courage as I clutched the letter, my mind racing. The words inscribed had felt potent, but what if they posed a far greater risk? Could we face him? Amid the mounting pressure, my gaze flickered to the window. Flashes of light danced outside, illuminating chaos that seemed to flow further into our sanctuary. There was something out there, something piquing my instincts. "Chloe," Carter murmured, voice low, eyes darting back to me, "trust your instincts. We need to decide, leave the box or confront him." I hesitated, heart racing, just as the sound of shattering glass broke through the tension, an ominous reminder that we were not alone in this storm. Before I could respond, the room's atmosphere shifted again, a new glimmer of hope flickering in the form of a glint off the pendant. As I turned, I sensed it shift, weightless and warm against my skin, and a thought struck me like lightning: this was not the end. Max's eyes widened, startled. "What are you doing?" And just as I went to answer, the pendant dropped from my fingers, landing with a soft thud on the floor. The chaos outside rose in a crescendo, and a single realization hit me: there was so much more at stake than we understood. As I bent to retrieve it, another chilling voice called from the hallway, this one familiar yet foreign. "I know what's hidden. And I won't let you take it." We turned as one, hearts racing. An unexpected ally had entered the fray, bringing hope and more uncertainty just as the stakes seemed higher than ever. A game I never dared to play was unfolding, and now that it had started, there was no turning back. As the echoes of the familiar voice lingered in the air, I turned, my heart thundering against my ribs. The figure stepped into the doorway, and my breath caught in my throat. Evelyn. She stood there like a lighthouse amidst our crumbling world, her presence both exhilarating and terrifying. Faded remnants of our past flashed through my mind: nights spent laughing in the dim light of her apartment, whispered secrets over coffee, long-forgotten dreams shared between friends. But as she stepped forward, the remnants of our history were overshadowed by the grim reality surrounding us. "Evelyn," I managed to say, clenching the pendant tightly in my palm like a lifeline. Her gaze flickered between Carter and me, a worried frown creasing her brow. "I heard what was happening. I couldn't let Max have you. Not like this." Max's laughter sliced through the tension. "Interesting twist indeed. Are we playing alliance games now? How quaint." He shifted his weight, the confidence radiating from him an unsettling contrast to the crackling atmosphere. "Get out of the way, Max," she said, her voice steady yet filled with an underlying defiance. "Chloe, Carter, I have something to share, something that means everything in this moment." My heart quickened. All our struggles, the weight of our fears, seemed to hinge on her next words. "What do you know?" I pressed, sensing that a fragile thread of hope was weaving through the chaos. "It's about the box. It's not just any heirloom. It holds the key to everything that's been happening," she replied, her voice slicing through my confusion. "My father, he was involved in something bigger than we knew. Something that connects all of us." Max leaned back against the wall, his interest piqued. "Well, this should be fun." Evelyn took a deep breath, gathering herself as she looked directly into my eyes. "Your father and mine were partners. They discovered something that could change the course of their industry, something that made them dangerous. And then it all spiraled out of control. I felt as if the ground had shifted beneath me. Flashes of memories flickered unbidden: my father's paranoia, the whispered conversations late at night, the way his face would darken whenever his work came up. "What do you mean? What was it?" "The pendant," Evelyn replied, a pang of urgency lacing her voice. "It contains a piece of technology, a blueprint for something that could revolutionize everything. But it was never meant to fall into the wrong hands. Max has been trying to exploit it while we've been searching for answers." I glanced at Max, who wore a mocking grin, but beneath that facade lay something darker. "You think you can play us against each other? This isn't a game, Evelyn." "I know it isn't," she said, her voice like steel tempered with vulnerability. But if we don't work together, we'll lose everything: our pasts, our choices, our futures. Carter's grip tightened around my shoulder. We need to cut through the noise and focus. Max is dangerous, and he will use whatever he can to turn this to his advantage. Suddenly, the world felt unbearably small, the walls closing in as if they were witnesses to the confrontation. Outside, the chaos erupted anew, sirens splitting through the air, intertwining with the fray in our office. It was as if the universe had conspired to push us toward this moment, where our every emotion hung precariously in the balance. That I paused, the weight of the pendant pressing heavy against my palm, its warmth grounding me. If it's true, if our fathers were involved. Max's amusement faded as he tapped a finger against his chin, his earlier bravado slipping. What a riveting family reunion. But I must remind you, information is power, and you're standing in a delicate place. One misstep, and you'll both face consequences. The crack in his confident facade only fueled my determination. Then let us take that risk. We need to understand what they were working toward. We can't let you manipulate us any longer. Evelyn nodded, her determination shining through. We can do this. Together. Enough. Max barked, eyes darkening as he stepped closer. You'll never get far with that naivety. Just remember, trust is a blade that can cut both ways. And I know all of your secrets, each and every one. Unnerved yet resolute, I glanced back at Evelyn and Carter, hearts beating in unison. I sensed the danger in our resolve, but more fiercely, I felt that flicker of hope guiding us through the shadows. We were more than mere players in Max's game, we were clinging to a truth that could set us free, but before we could solidify our pact, the office door burst open again. 3 armed figures rushed into the room. My breath hitched. Who had sent them? Everything froze. The air thickened, heavy with the weight of uncertainty as I exchanged a glance with Carter and Evelyn. The semblance of safety shattered, and a new revelation hung in the air, a reminder that we were not just fighting against one man, we were stepping into an intricate web that extended far beyond our comprehension. As the figures advanced, weapons raised, a newfound resolve surged through me. I could no longer afford to play the passive role in this game. Each moment was charged with emotion, every heartbeat a pulse of urgency, and I knew then that whatever lay ahead, we'd face it together come hell or high water. In that moment of chaos, the truth hit me: we'd uncovered something profound, but now it was a race against time and forces we barely understood. Would we stand strong, or would our very convictions fracture under the pressure? One thing remained clear: we were on the cusp of a revelation that could either bind us, or tear us apart forever. As the armed figures advanced, casting shadows that flickered ominously against the walls, a thick veil of uncertainty wrapped around us. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but my feet felt cemented to the ground. Carter's grip on my shoulder tightened, a silent pact of strength amid our shared terror. Evelyn remained resolute, her earlier defiance simmering just below the surface. I drew strength from that flicker of fire in her eyes. Stand back. One of the figures commanded, his voice like ice cutting through the heat of our confrontation. They aimed their weapons at us, and I felt a chill wrap around my spine. There was no denying the gravity of our situation now. Max, ever the opportunist, straightened and raised his hands slowly, his smile now a mask of insincerity. Gentlemen, do let us not resort to violence. We were just having a civil discussion. Our orders are to bring the 3 of them in, no matter the method. Another figure growled, an edge of impatience in his voice. What happened to the no-violence clause? Max said with an exaggerated pout as he sidled up to them, the veneer of bravado slipping away while fear simmered just below the surface. Evelyn stepped forward slightly, her courage reigniting all around us. You can't take us there's more at stake here than you know. The third figure turned his gaze towards her, eyebrows raised, and I felt something shift. It was a fleeting moment, but for just a heartbeat, I saw a flicker of recognition cross his face before it was replaced by the cold hardness of duty. Who were they really, and what did they know? Enough of this. The first figure barked. You don't know who you're dealing with. He moved to grab Evelyn, and in that split second, instinct took over. No! I shouted, launching myself towards her. Time slowed as I reached for her, my fingers brushing against her arm, desperately trying to pull her back. The chaos and confusion blurred around me, but one thing remained clear: our connection was unbreakable. Suddenly, the office was filled with the sharp crack of gunfire and the bright flash of light as the room erupted into chaos. I stumbled back in shock, narrowly avoiding the projectile aimed at us. Max's laughter turned into a strangled gasp, his bravado shattered, and for the first time, the mask fell away, revealing fear in his eyes. "Get down!" Carter shouted, shielding me as we took cover behind a desk. The air was thick with the acrid smell of gunpowder, mingled with desperation. Evelyn crouched beside us, her breath rapid. "We need to take control." "They can't just control. They're armed and prepared to use actual violence," I exclaimed as the reality of our dire situation sunk deeper into my bones. My thoughts raced. What would our fathers think? All we had been trying to escape, all the secrets, and the darkness they left in their wake, it had caught up to us, and now it threatened to swallow us whole. In the midst of the chaos, I spotted a fire extinguisher mounted against the wall. Inspiration struck like lightning. "Carter!" I hissed, pointing frantically. "If I can grab that, we might just stand a chance." He nodded, understanding immediately what I intended. "On 3. 1, 2." Before we could get to 3, one of the armed assailants trained his weapon on us, clearly intending to put an end to the standoff. Just then, a loud crash erupted from behind him, and the office door flew off its hinges, swinging in like a battering ram. Through the smoke that clouded the entrance emerged a rugged figure, one that exuded dangerous charm and audacity: Lucas, my estranged brother. The shock of witnessing him sent a tremor through my heart, a tumult of confusion and yearning spiraled deep within me. "Chloe!" he shouted as his eyes connected with mine, burning with intensity. "Lucas!" My voice trembled. I was caught between relief and disbelief. "What are you doing here?" "I came to rescue you," he exclaimed, quickly assessing the situation with sharp instinct. "We don't have time for explanations. Get behind me." With that, he rushed toward the nearest assailant, disarming him. With swift precision, as if he had been rehearsing for this moment all along. I thought of the years lost, the distance that had formed between us, the times I'd yearned for him to reach out. It all felt like molten rock, boiling beneath the surface of this fight for survival. Carter grabbed my hand, pulling me closer as we moved to dodge another barrage of incoming fire. My heart raced, torn between gratitude for Lucas and the realization of how easily our lives could slip through our fingers again, but even as Lucas fought, I felt the heaviness of unspoken truths encircle us. We stood at the edge of an abyss, teetering on the brink between life and death, and I could almost taste the uncertainty in the air. "Lucas, we need to talk about," I started, but he was already drawn deeply into battle. "Once we're out of here," he shouted back, exchanging blows with their leader, the hint of urgency underscoring every syllable, and just when I thought we might break through, that we could reclaim the night, something changed. A second group of assailants surged into the room, their faces hidden behind masks, their presence an ominous threat that tightened the air even more. Shots rang out once more, and I ducked into the relative safety of the desk as adrenaline coursed through my veins. A chilling revelation lodged itself in my mind. They weren't just after the box or the pendant, they were hunting us, each of us a piece on a deadly chessboard far beyond our grasp. As the chaos spiraled around us, I clung to the hope that maybe, just maybe, we could salvage something from the remnants of our shattered lives. But the flames of conflict burned brightly around us, a battle not just for our lives, but for the truth that could unite us or destroy us. A sudden noise broke through the haze, an unexpected sound. My heart raced as I turned, witnessing the glint of the pendant. It slipped from my pocket, skidding across the floor and landing at the feet of the masked figure. "Now I understand," he rasped with a sinister smile. "The game has only just begun." And with those words, the fabric of our already fragile hope began to unravel, leaving nothing but shadows dancing in our midst as our fates hung in a precarious balance. The chaos of the fight reverberated in my ears, drowning out the creaking of the old office as it struggled to maintain its integrity against the onslaught of violence. I couldn't shake the feeling that something significant had shifted when the masked figure uttered his chilling words. The pendant, once merely a symbol of conflict, now felt like a ticking time bomb, a key to secrets buried deep in our family history, secrets that had the power to bring us together or tear us apart. Lucas, grappling with the assailants, managed to throw one across the room, but the space felt smaller, the number of adversaries multiplying like shadows in the dark. I glanced at Evelyn and Carter, huddled behind the desk, their expressions a mixture of determination and fear. The last thing I wanted was for this night to fracture any further, yet here we were, teetering on the edge of a desperate struggle. Chloe. Lucas's voice snapped me back into the present. We have to get to the exit now. He had fought his way closer and reached out to pull me from behind the desk, but for a moment, I hesitated. The pendant gleamed temptingly on the floor, its power calling to me, like a siren luring sailors into the storm. Lucas, the pendant. I cried out, my hand instinctively reaching for it. In an instant, time lost its meaning as I dove towards the shiny piece of jewelry that seemed to pulse with the very essence of our chaos. I could feel the weight of our past pressing down on me, the legacy of our families stitched into the very fabric of that pendant. If I could just grasp it, maybe I could uncover the truth that had eluded us for so long that I barely made it to it when a hand shot past me, coarse and rough. A glimmer of recognition crossed the masked figure's face. He knew me. You should have let it lie, he hissed. I felt cold dread wash over me. Who was this person? Why did he look familiar? Chloe, now! Lucas shouted, urgency clawing at his throat. The room exploded into motion as one of the masked figures lunged toward Lucas's flank. Without a second thought, I stood firm, that ethereal pendant now cradled in my palm. Stay back! I yelled, raising the pendant as if it could somehow protect us. In that instant, the room's energy shifted. The combatants hesitated, their focus shifting from Lucas and me to the artifact I held. Do you understand what you have? The masked figure questioned, his voice low but urgent. You have no idea how much power that holds. Power. The word fell like a heavy stone within me. In this life, we had always chased the specters of our fathers and their hidden legacies, but now our own lives had become tangled in that pursuit. It felt as if the pendant were alive under my touch, surging with history and imploring me to unlock its secrets. Just as the murmur of uncertainty swelled into a tide of confrontation, gunshots fired from the opening, catching the attention of everyone in the room. A grunt echoed as one more intruder stumbled into the fray, but this time it was not an enemy, it was an ally, a woman whose presence ignited a flicker of recognition in my mind. Sarah. I breathed. Sarah, an old friend of my father and a former detective, had once vowed to protect our family. My heart surged with a wave of unexpected hope. But what was she doing here now? Get back! She shouted, her voice commanding, pulling a firearm from her belt as she maneuvered skillfully through the chaos. I'll cover you. We need to secure that pendant. As the battle raged on, I kept glancing down at the pendant, its intricate design shimmering even under the dim light. I could feel its pull, the stories etched into its metal beckoning me to awaken a destiny long denied. But its allure was equally terrifying. Would unlocking its true power help us, or would it unleash even more chaos? With a sense of urgency that threatened to envelop us, I darted back into the fray alongside Lucas and Sarah. Hoping to find our way toward the exit, my mind whirled with questions. Would revealing its secrets offer hope or despair? Could the very thing we sought to understand shatter us, or would it unite us as we battled through this violence? Chloe, focus! Lucas shouted, the sound of a punch connecting with a jaw barely registering through the fog of my thoughts. His voice sliced through my uncertainty. I needed to keep moving, to survive. Then, a sudden blast sent shockwaves through the office once more, scattering dust and debris around us. I fell to the ground, the pendant slipping from my grasp, rolling uncertainly across the scarred wooden floor. As I scrambled to retrieve it, I heard the distinct sound of laughter, a chilling echo that froze my blood. The masked figure began to step closer, that familiar grin spreading across his face. "You really don't know what you've gotten yourself into, do you?" Suddenly, everything felt impossibly clear, the stakes higher than ever. Before I could fully register the danger, his hand shot forward, seizing the pendant before I could react. "Now," he said with a dark glimmer in his eye. "The game truly begins." As he held it aloft, the chaos around us faded into a muffled roar, a singular focus cementing itself in my mind. No escape, no retreat, only the harsh reality that our greatest challenge lay just ahead. We were tangled in a web woven long before we were born, and the revelation of our destinies awaited us on the other side of this turmoil. A heavy silence descended upon the room, thick with tension and uncertainty. The masked figure stood triumphantly, the pendant glinting ominously in the fluorescent light, an unholy trophy in his grasp. My stomach twisted in peculiar knots as panic clawed at my throat. Without the pendant, the secrets we desperately sought felt like wisps of smoke, impossibly out of reach. "Get back!" Sarah shouted once more, her voice electrifying the air around me. She leveled her firearm at the masked figure, a warrior ready to defend her people, yet her eyes betrayed a flicker of something deeper, fear, perhaps, or recognition. It struck me then, she had known my family long before we had ever been entangled in this chaos. Could it be that she held secrets of her own, secrets she had failed to disclose? "Do you think you can stop me?" The masked figure taunted, his voice a harsh whisper of sinister promise. The tone sent shivers down my spine, igniting an intensity of emotion I couldn't fully understand. "This pendant holds the truths your father tried to bury," he continued, his gaze fixed on me. "You're not prepared for what's coming." Lucas kept his eyes trained on him, muscles taut as a coiled spring. "We will take it back," he declared. Words filled with determination, but the reality began to sink in. Our resolve was faltering against the weight of unseen truths. Would unearthing the past bury us deeper into darkness? "Chloe, focus," Lucas repeated, glancing at me. I forced my attention back to the present, reminding myself that we still had a chance. The pendant was not only a key to the past, but our hope for the future too. We won. Let him win. Adrenaline surged through me, and I understood that we had to reclaim the pendant. But the truth was a burden I was not sure I wanted to bear. Whatever it held, it could change our lives forever, and yet part of me was drawn to the mystery. As Lucas made a move, distracting the masked figure, I saw my chance. Suddenly, a loud crash reverberated from the far side of the office as Carter, quiet but resolute, hurled a chair with surprising strength at our enemy. It clattered with chaos, the masked figure stumbling back, momentarily caught off guard. "Now!" Sarah barked, and we surged forward as a collective unit. I could feel the heat of the moment, our shared desperation connecting us in ways words never could. We were bound by family, friendship, darkness, and an uncertain path ahead, but darkness beckons, and I soon discovered that the masked figure had fortitude I had not anticipated. Gathering himself amidst the debris, he lunged for me, the pendant still clutched in his hand, a beacon of intimidation. "You think you're the heroes," he hissed, "but it's already too late. Your history is riddled with lies." "Stop!" I urged, a confusion driving my voice. But he only smirked, shaking the pendant tauntingly. As our struggle continued, a bead of sweat trickled down my brow, the weight of the moment pressing me against the unforgiving wall of reality. What if he was right? What had we stumbled into, and was unraveling our past worth risking everything for? Then, seemingly from nowhere, Sarah lunged forward, pushing me away just as the masked figure brought his arm swinging in my direction. A fist connected with Sarah's jaw, sending her sprawling to the floor. Anguish flared inside me. "No!" I screamed, the world slowing as the realization set in. Sarah was fighting for us, and here we were, narrowly escaping too close to the edge. Lucas quickly caught up with her as the masked figure swirled around to face him. They were locked in a clash, male and female energies colliding, a dance of fury, desperation, and fear. As I watched them battle, the weight of the pendant loomed in the corner of my mind, tantalizingly close to revelation yet terrifyingly distant. The laughter of the masked figure reverberated through my thoughts, echoing the fear gnawing at my insides. This is only the beginning, dear Chloe. The truths woven into your history will come for you, dragging you backward while you think you're moving forward. In that moment, something within me shifted, heavy yet awakening. Then let us fight through it. I shouted, my voice raw, amplifying the determination that coursed through me. Empowered by my conviction, I charged, pivoting around the tussle, desperately reaching for the pendant he held, but he was faster, tugging it out of reach, his glee infecting the atmosphere like a toxin. And just as I stumbled, the pendant slipped from his hand, clattering against the floor and coming to a stop at the base of the wall where Sarah lay stunned. Chloe, get it! Lucas yelled, his voice escalating in urgency. Time froze. My heart pounded with anticipation. In those final seconds, a fleeting realization coursed through me. Was this the moment I had been waiting for? One that could tether our fate, one that would demand we confront whoever we were meant to become. That I held my breath, a single action calling to me. I was about to dive for the pendant when I caught a glimpse of Sarah, a look of revelation sparking in her eyes as she stared at it. In that instant, her gaze flickered to me, revealing more than I expected, a hidden depth of understanding, a fragmented past she'd never shared. Was she connected to this chaos? My heart raced with fear. The revelation could shred through all we held dear. Sarah! I cried out, the name blossoming with newfound urgency. What are you waiting for? She demanded, strength returning as she focused on the pendant. Each whisper of uncertainty clashed with the relentless pulse of destiny calling us toward the truth. But what awaited us, light or shadow, remained obscured. Just as I turned, believing I could finally grasp the pendant, another voice shattered the moment, a voice I recognized but had not wanted to hear. Step away from that, he commanded, almost casually. Shock pierced through me like an icy blade. The door burst open, revealing Jonathan, my estranged brother. He stood at the threshold, exuding an air of authority that was as terrifying as it was familiar. You don't know the darkness you're unleashing. A collective gasp filled the room. The light flickered around us, hope, despair, family tightening into a raw, emotional landscape filled with hidden truths, unknown connections, and life-altering decisions. The questions spiraled like a whirlwind in my mind. Was this the moment our tangled family history would reveal its true form? Would we face it together, or would this signal our demise? The pendant gleamed ominously in the dim light, reflecting our intertwining fates, and the fractures of our past began to threaten the future I longed to see. As Jonathan stepped further into the room, a melange of fear and determination surged through me, propelling me toward an uncertain destiny. The weight of Jonathan's presence was palpable, like a thunderclap that cast a shadow over the room. His eyes, dark and piercing, swept across us, lingering on the pendant gleaming beneath the wan light. The remnants of battle, palpable in the air, stood in stark juxtaposition to the silent storm brewing within my heart. Jonathan, I finally managed to say, my voice barely a whisper threaded with disbelief. What are you doing here? Saving you from making a mistake, he replied coldly, stepping forward with a confidence I hadn't seen in years. Right then, the dynamics shifted, his authority palpable, yet a flicker of something softer sparked within me, an echo of the brother I once knew. But with it came a tidal wave of questions, drowning me in uncertainty. You have no idea what you're involved in. I couldn't process how he had slipped back into my life like this, particularly in such a fraught moment. What do you mean? I demanded, edging toward him, eager for answers yet terrified of acknowledging the familiarity that flowed between us. Just step away from the pendant, Chloe. His voice cut through the tension like a blade, as he gestured meaningfully toward it. It doesn't belong to you. It's a key to a past better left unopened. Before I could respond, Sarah struggled to her feet, regaining her composure while keeping her eyes fixed on Jonathan. You don't get to decide that for us. She shouted, her spirit reigniting in defiance. We deserve to know, especially if it involves our families. Lucas stood next to her, hands visibly trembling yet resolute. We're in this together, Jonathan. You don't know what we've been through. I held Lucas's gaze, his unwavering support igniting a spark of bravery within me. If this pendant has answers, then we're going to take that risk. Each word felt momentous, charged with a defiance fueled by loss and the desire for truth. Jonathan's expression hardened, his lips curling into a fleeting smirk. You think that's bravery? It's recklessness. Those secrets are buried for a reason. Then tell us why, I challenged, leaning into our fraught history, hoping for illumination amid the shadows. If you truly care, then share your truth. For a moment, silence reigned, wrapping us in a cloak of tension. The masked figure, not entirely forgotten, moved in the background, surveying us with a pained anticipation. In that stillness, Jonathan shifted. I'm here because his words faltered, caught in the web of what had transpired between us. The vulnerability in his eyes startled me, it felt far more real than the facade he wore. Because you care. I pressed, desperation mingling with hope. It was a strange, familiar ache, a longing to reconnect, to understand this piece of our history obscured by time and silence. His expression faltered, a flicker of indecision passing over his face. Because I'm tied to it all, Chloe. You don't have the whole picture. He paused, glancing at the masked figure, then back at us. This is bigger than you know, and it's dangerous. You think this is just about the pendant? You're wrong. A shiver ran down my spine as the pieces began to fall into place, but my heart was grounded by the weight of connection. I wanted to believe him, to trust the past that was threatening to collude with the present. But would revealing those pieces of ourselves lead us to healing, or would it pull us further into the abyss? And then, as if cued by the turmoil of emotions swirling around us, the masked figure took a step forward, grinning as if relishing the fray about to unfold. Is that so? He spat, his voice dripping with scorn. What if the truths you seek lead only to ruin, Jonathan? Enough! I shouted, feeling the heat of resolve blaze through me. You will not hold us captive with fear or lies. Brave words, dear Chloe, he mocked. But bravery isn't what you need, it's knowledge and you're hopelessly uninformed. I felt the whispers of doubt creep in, threading their way through my certainty like vines around a tree. Did I truly understand what I was seeking? Would dredging up the past inspire growth or a poisonous chokehold tightening around my family? But then Lucas stepped closer to me, his hand resting on the small of my back. It was a fierce gesture of support, a reminder that this was a fight we faced together. We'll decide our own path, he said firmly, eyes ablaze with conviction. As I met Jonathan's gaze, an understanding flickered. There was a bond beneath the discord, a familial connection forged in our shared experiences and the darkness we dared to confront. I longed to grasp it, to pull it closer to the surface where I could decipher its meaning, yet the moment shattered as the masked figure lunged again, snatching the pendant from the floor as an unexpected uproar unfolded. My heart raced, panic and urgency intertwining as I reached out once more. Before I could react, a flash of motion caught my attention. A loose floorboard beneath my foot shifted, sending me stumbling as I fought to maintain my balance. Chloe! I heard Sarah shout, but it was too late. That I fell backward, hitting the floor hard. The wind knocked out of me just as the masked figure raised the pendant high, laughing as he prepared to unveil the truth that would ripple through the chaos that bound us. It was a salute to darkness, a beckoning to all the secrets lurking in our pasts. Stunned and breathless, I could only watch as Jonathan's face drained of color. No! He cried out, but it was drowned by the laughter that echoed menacingly, merging with my heart's frantic beat. What had I invited into our lives? As shadows danced around us, a realization struck. Perhaps the revelations we sought would consume us just as much as they could liberate us. I lay there, vulnerable and overwhelmed, caught between a past I didn't fully understand and a future slipping through my fingers. The next moment surged through me like fire, threatening to ignite both hope and despair, but hope rose fleetingly within. I could not and would not let this be the end of my story. As I pushed myself up, determination surged through me once more. Whatever lay ahead, I would not step away from the truth or the fight to reclaim my family's legacy, no matter how painful or perilous it may become. And in that moment, even amid the chaos and revelation, I felt a new resolve gather within me, a flicker of defiance ignited by the warmth of unwavering kinship, soon overshadowed by the encroaching shadows in the room that promised to bring forth an unexpected reckoning. As I stood there on the floor, ice-cold dread clawing at my insides, I could hardly process the cacophony enveloping us. The masked figure towered above, the pendant glinting with a sinister radiance, a harbinger of the revelations that threatened to tear our group apart. My heartbeat raced as Jonathan's voice cracked through the chaos, desperation coating his tone. "Put it down," he barked, urgency coursing through his words like electricity. Sarah and Lucas moved instinctively toward him, each rekindling the bond that had solidified between us after so many trials. A fight was brewing, but I felt unmoored, grappling with the weight of uncertainty. My mind raced back to the countless stories I had heard whispered around family dinners, the elusive tales of our ancestors tangled in shadows and secrets that had been swept under generations. Was this pendant truly a link to those pasts? And if so, what horrors lay in store for us? The masked figure reveled in our turmoil, waving the pendant like a trophy. "Didn't you wonder why it was kept from you?" His laughter rolled through the room, taunting and brittle, as if forged in some oppressive darkness. "Each of you is more entwined in this than you could fathom. Welcome to the reckoning." I felt a cold seeping dread, but in the tremors of that fear, I clung to the neighboring warmth of support from Lucas, his steadfast presence an anchor against the gale of uncertainty. As he reached for my hand, the world outside decay and chaos faded. In that simple gesture, a sense of real purpose surged through me. This was our moment to stand together and combat the monsters, both outside and within. "Tell us," I shouted, my voice steady even amidst the storm. "What do you mean we're entwined?" I was caught between anger and fear, but I refused to be someone who hurried backward into silence. With the pendant still gleaming high, the figure's demeanor changed subtly, becoming almost pensive. He lowered it slightly, his smirk fading. "You seek the truth. It's a dangerous path, young ones." His tone shifted, almost contemplative, purging the maliciousness that had draped lightly over our confrontation. "Every family has its skeletons, the key is knowing how to lock them away," Jonathan interjected, stepping slightly closer, his brow furrowing. The protective sway of his voice ignited a glimmer of curiosity, causing me to wonder if he might yet become an ally instead of a distant ghost. "Enough of your riddles," Sarah yelled, eyes wide as she took a defiant step forward. "If we're really in this together, it's time to lay everything bare for once." The masked figure regarded us with an unnerving bemusement, as if the words had struck a chord deeper than he intended. "Then let us begin." My stomach churned as dread surged anew, but swift realization edged in alongside it. It was now or never. I held on to the possibility of truth as a safeguard, much like the pendant that had sparked this confrontation. No matter how bruising revelations could be. The figure looked directly at Jonathan. "Do you wish to tell them, or shall I?" He leaned closer, teasing golden threads of recognition into our tangled history. "Enough." Jonathan stepped ahead, a storm raging in his chest as he stared into the masked figure's eyes, a melding of old rivalries reawakening. "You don't get to play games with their lives." The tension frayed as each of us waited, breath held tight against the secrets waiting to be unearthed. But it was Lucas who broke the hush, his hands still laced with mine. "You can't just drop hints and walk away. We need to know what's at stake." His voice resonated with the weight of our shared resolve. "Very well," the masked figure retorted, a smirk dancing across his lips. "Secrets come at a price, and every revelation carries its burden." He paused, his eyes shifting to me. "But know this, what you learn may divide you more than it unites." I felt my certainty creak under pressure, but just as despair threatened to seep back in, a flicker of strength roared within, the warmth tightening between my fingers where Lucas grasped my hand. "We'll bear it together," I declared, finding clarity in the chaos. Before anyone else could respond, the figure turned, his shadow lengthening as if channeling the darkness gathering around us. "Then let me give you a glimpse at the truth you desperately seek." With a swift motion, He began to pull something from the depths of his cloak, the air thickening with an electric stillness that felt entirely foreign yet strangely familiar. It could be the end of shadows or a chasm from which there was no return. But as the object emerged into the dim light, my heart dropped for an entirely different reason. There, deep within his grasp, dangled the other half of the pendant, the side I had known nothing about. In this lie the answers that could shatter everything you have come to know, he declared, bearing a smile that twisted my stomach in tumult. In that moment of sheer revelation, every heart in the room seemed to pause. What if we don't want to hear? I whispered, the weight of everything suddenly crashing down upon me like a cyclone. Too late for that, dear Chloe, he replied, the cruelty now underpinned by a strange ambition. You're on the precipice. You asked for it, now, you have to face the truth. Our connection could have splintered beneath the tremors of his words, yet, juxtaposed against the darkness gathering around us, the bonds of ours felt irrevocably strong. But could we truly shatter the sails that held us at bay from knowing the full extent of our heritage? A burst of chaos followed, discarding my train of thought as Sarah cried out behind me, chasing after the unexpected light that radiated from the other half of the pendant, now thrust forward temptingly. The last you could hear was the veil of clarity beginning to shimmer amid the shadows, daring us to step closer even as the invitation remained steeped in peril. What lurked beneath those secrets? Would uncovering them tether us closer, or would the truth be a dagger, poised to cleave us apart? As the final silence fell, and darkness encroached once more, every heartbeat echoed with fervent anticipation. I felt the grasp of Lucas's hand tighten, and in that moment of turmoil, I knew the road ahead would be fraught with choices that could defy our very existence. And so, we stood on the cusp of the unknown, ready to dive into the depths of what it meant to be entwined in a web of familial shadows, into the abyss where plans lay hidden, waiting for our next step. Standing there amidst the rubble of our chaotic confrontation, everything around us felt surreal. The weight of the moment pressed down upon me, mingling with a distant pulse of fear and anticipation. The masked figure, with his taunting smirk and dangerous ambition, held the other half of the pendant, the piece of our fragmented past that could either solidify our family's legacy or rip apart the very fabric of our existence. With his words echoing in my ears, I felt the room constrict around me, each breath a reminder of the choices we'd made along the way. What if we don't want to hear? I had whispered, and now, standing on the precipice of the unknown, I realized I was merely delaying the inevitable. The truth was a beast that could shred apart the fragile band we had formed amidst chaos, or it could be the thread that weaved us together in resilience. Chloe, Lucas's voice broke through the haze, pulling my focus back to the present. His eyes burned with intensity, their flickering embers igniting a sense of bravery within me. Whatever happens next, we face this together. We've come too far to turn back now. I nodded, his unwavering support washing over me like warm sunlight on a cold day. It was a covenant forged in adversity, our hearts beating in sync as we steeled ourselves for whatever revelation was about to unfurl. The masked figure stood poised with the pendant, his shadow dancing over the crumpled remains of our encircled past. Are you prepared to unlock the truth? He asked, his voice low and honeyed with malice. I felt an electric shiver tracing the nape of my neck, grounding me with the realization that the choice lay before me, the choice to face what had once been hidden. I breathed. The words felt like a trigger, a quiet, yet decisive nudge into the unknown. As soon as I voiced my willingness to confront the shadows buried beneath our family's history, the compartment of chaos erupted with renewed energy. Remember, the masked figure warned, a flash of delight crossing his visage, sometimes the truth opens doors that are better left locked. Before I could process his threat, he raised the half of the pendant, the twin shimmering under the fluorescent lights. A soft hum reverberated through the air, almost melodic against the backdrop of our tension-filled standoff. With each heartbeat, it pulsed like an alive entity, a relic tied to our fates. You're bound to this legacy, he hissed, revealing a glimpse of power thrumming behind his words, and today, you will learn the depths of its strength and its cost. As he spoke, I felt those words wrap around me like a shroud, pulling me further into the depths of our tangled history. What do you mean? My voice barely broke through the suffocating weight of anticipation. He gestured dramatically toward us, his eyes flickering between our faces. You seek to know why your families have been at odds for generations. This pendant holds entry to a puzzle, a game that has echoed through time. The implications of his words reverberated through me. There was more at stake here than merely unearthing the past. This was a path littered with sacrifice, a battle for relevancy that had spanned farther than we had realized. And if we refuse? I demanded, my heart thundering in defiance. Ah, but you can't refuse, he sang, voice laced with the confidence of someone who had molded the game himself. Once the pieces are set in motion, the clock begins to tick. You either embrace your legacy or become its casualty. A suffocating silence followed. I glanced around at my companions, Sarah's fierce determination, Lucas's impenetrable resolve, Jonathan's flickering fears, and finally, the masked figure's smug satisfaction. Would we truly be able to decode what lay before us? Suddenly, I felt that familiar warmth in my palm, the original side of the pendant still nestled in my hand. The two halves resonated with a vibration I could feel deep within my chest. The connection was undeniable. Then let us unlock it together, I declared, a resolute fire flaring within me that caught hold of the embers smoldering in the others. Our destinies lay intertwined, not merely defined by the shadows of our predecessors but illuminated by the hope forged through our shared struggles. Very well, the masked figure replied, assembling a darkness behind his eyes. He stepped forward, fitting the two halves of the pendant together, and as they clicked into place, a blinding light erupted from the center, tearing through the shadows that enveloped the room. It was a flash that lit up the remnants of discarded fears and unresolved pains, revealing cryptic images inscribed in the air, fragments of our family's past swirling around us like a ribbon of time unfurling. Faces long ago forgotten emerged, each etched with stories of love, loss, and betrayal. Then, through that cacophony of genetic memories, I saw it, the unyielding bond that tethered our families together, an ancient pact forged in times of prosperity and tragedy alike. The realization that we were entwined by not just blood, but a fate that sought to restore balance amongst ages of discord ignited an urgency in my chest. With the images swirling, the masked figure laughed, shaking his head, releasing a menacing cackle that echoed in my ears like a drum heralding the end. You think you can override the past? How naive. But standing there amidst the chaos, my focus shifted inward. It's not about overriding it, I called out, my voice emerging above the tumult. It's about understanding it to break the cycle that has haunted us. As the images began to coalesce into an intricate tapestry of our intertwined histories, I felt an exhilarating rush. My heartbeat harmonized with the rhythm of the legacy seeking to unfold. We were ready to confront our fears together. Lucas's grip tightened on my hand, and through the chaos, his gaze found mine filled with a steadfast belief that together we could unearth the truths hidden by shadows. Are you ready? He asked, his voice an anchor amid the storm. That I nodded, conviction roaring through me. No matter what we face, we'll face it together. And with that shared resolve, the pendants pulsed, the light intensifying around us, pulling us deeper into that enigmatic bond, ready to unveil the truth that had remained locked away for too long. In that moment, enveloped by the echoes of our shared histories, I realized that the journey wasn't merely about the revelations awaiting us, it was about the strength we found in each other as we stepped toward that crucial ultimate reckoning. Whatever lay ahead, we were united, ready to claim our legacies, redefine our futures, and, above all, embrace the truths great and small that had brought us here. As the brilliance enveloped us, illuminating the shadows of our pasts, I took a deep breath and held on to that pulse of connection, the tether that would guide us through the unknown and into the light. In that vast unfolding tapestry of our legacies, I could almost hear the stories of those who came before us whispering through the air, and with unwavering determination, I understood, this was our moment. Together, we would rewrite the endings that had bound us, as we braced ourselves for the journey ahead, and in the final flicker of that light, the masked figure's figure faded into the backdrop, replaced by the clarity of purpose intertwined with hope, as we stepped forward, bound not by the shadows, but by the promise of truth and the unfathomable strength we had built together. Because the truth, dear shadows, only sets you free when it's embraced together.